And we get to bring on our next guest, who is Norm Williams. He is super. He's actually on last week's episode. I liked him so much, I made him come back again.
Amazing.
I did. So we're going to go ahead and bring him on. He has a really cool job. I'm going to let him tell us about it real fast.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Norm, how are you?
Hello. Let me get centered here.
You're good. You're good. So tell us real quick what it is that you do for a living.
I am the executive VP of OJT.com, and we're a online training provider and the nation's largest on-the-job training resource.
All right. We have someone who's giving us a little bit of harassment, but I will put we have one of our viewers saying nice eyes, Norm.
Thank you.
So there you go. Compliment for you. Thank you, Crystal.
Wait. I just want to point out, we just talked about how we don't talk about descriptive and body parts.
Listen, Andi, I was waiting. I was going to see if someone was going to bring that up. You guys had a good segment.
Yes, but I do want to point out, she's not a client of yours. She's not a coworker of yours. She's not your manager. So I think we're safe. This is just a human being.
Fair point.
But it was just an example. It's an example, right? Just an example. If it happened in the workplace.
Yes.
Right.
That would be no. That would be a no.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate here because I'm good at that.
Okay.
Have we created a culture where we cannot pay genuine compliments to people? Yeah, but where we can't pay genuine compliments to people like, hey, I really like your eyes, or great sweater, or whatever. Have we created that culture, or is it situational? Because my take on it as a leader is actually it's not up to you how you intended it. It's up to Norm how he accepted it.
Ooh, all right. What are your thoughts, Norm? I'm gonna let you take this one first.
And the thing is, you can't determine or dictate how someone accepts or receives the words that you say, right? So all you can do is deliver whatever you're saying, which is kind of like SOP, respectfully. Right. Just deliver respectfully. Like there's a respectful way to compliment someone. Right. Yes. There's a disrespectful way, and there's a way to try to be slick with innuendo, right? But if it's just a genuine, hey, that's a beautiful dress, or those glasses really compliment your face. Like that's a genuine compliment. People who doesn't want to get a genuine compliment? But there's a line.
I want to say that because you used an example that I actually tell a lot of my clients to be very careful about, and that's the clothing. Because a lot of times what somebody is actually saying to you is, I feel attracted to you in that outfit. And especially as a woman, do guys get that too? Do women do that to you guys too?
So I think it's different to say, I like your dress versus you look good in that dress. There's two very different connotations with that.
I would agree with the actual words, but let me tell you how I actually heard this said to a woman once. Hey, I like that dress on you.
Right, but that's creepy anyway.
But that's innuendo.
I'm sorry, I said the wrong one. I said it was just the hey, I like that dress. Oh. So what I tell people is watch your face.
Right.
Watch your body language. Watch your eyeballs. Look into the eyeballs. If you're going to compliment somebody, eyeballs, don't look down here. Look, ladies and guys, because ladies, we're bad about that too.
Don't lie. I've been dressed down my fair share.
Yes.
So it's not just.
Yes. I had one poor guy that I worked on a recruiting floor with 20 some odd women, and there were two guys in the department. Two. And one of them apparently was very good looking and had a lot of, how do I say it? Strong gazes on him every day when he walked in. And there were some definite inappropriate comments made toward him.
Okay. So circle back to what we were talking about before about the culture that we've kind of created here in the US about if a woman complains about sexual harassment, she's a victim. And if a guy complains about sexual harassment, then it's almost like his manhood is in question in the culture. Which is nonsense. Exactly. So we have to do better, again, with the toxic environments of creating a safe place where everybody should have a voice to say, you know what, I'm not comfortable. I'm here to do a job. You're here to do a job. Let's keep this appropriate. And what I teach my son and my employees of, we don't fish from the company pond. Don't hit on people at work.
Oh Oh, well, that too. Yeah, don't. That causes all the problems. Do not
I'm
do.
the wrong one to have on that topic. I actually met and married my wife at work.
Well, sometimes you can't help it.
It happens.
But don't. Oh my gosh, how did?
But that was pre-2021 cancel culture. I'm just going to point that out.
Oh no, don't do it. Oh, I know what a friend of mine said. A friend of mine said, "Don't do the catch and release at work. Don't do that. You know where you just catch and release, like it's like in fishing. Don't do that at work. That's not good. That's not who you are."
Well, I think that also ties into your company policy, right? Because at the company that I worked at, you were moved to a different office. Like you can't date, but you can't date and work in the same office together.
Right.
So
that's fair.
Right. And so if you're going to date, cool, be honest about it. We're not going to fire you, but one of you has to move to a different office.
Right. And I think, and we're cracking Crystal up. Glad to know that we're a pretty goofy bunch. But I tell you what, it really is serious. There are these stereotypes that you should, it's okay for this group to be upset about this, but not this group. And some people are, I'm just going to put it out there. Some people are just too dang sensitive. It is true. I have had women claim that something was sexual harassment, and I had them repeat the story to me 5 times because I never heard it. Legitimately, this actually happened multiple times to me. And the same thing with, oh, so-and-so is being rude to me. Okay, tell me the story. And I never caught it. And so to your point, Andi, a lot of it's perception, right? It's just perception. So what I tell people is follow the very basic guidelines of make sure everything that is actually coming out of your mouth, in other words, the actual words, are within professional guidelines. Look people in the eye when you are giving them a compliment. We talked about that, right? Watch your tone. And then after that, if there's a misunderstanding, just address it. Because if what you actually said wasn't gross, I don't consider that toxic. That's just a misunderstanding.
Right.
Yep.
It becomes toxic when we let it go and we don't have tough conversations like what we were talking about. And with that fearless feedback to say, hey, here's what you said. Here's what I heard. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go Brene Brown on this one. The story I'm telling myself is,
the story
I love it.
Yes.
I like that.
I love
like,
that's cool.
What when you say that, what I'm hearing is, but we're so scared, and we're more likely to go to HR than have a direct conversation with somebody who offended us. But if you will create a no negativity space in your life where you're not listening to gossip, you're not creating drama, but you're having conversations with the goal of resolution. So communicating to be understood, not just to be heard, then the outcome is much, much better.
And I want to hit on that. You communicating to be understood, not just heard. And that's very important. That's very, very important. And I always tell people, stand up for yourself too. Don't run to HR or your manager with every little thing. Don't be a tattletale. Just go to them if it's serious, if it repeats, if the person doesn't respect you when you bring it up. But just turn around and go, hey, just so you know, that kind of, I apologize. I'm sure that's not how you meant it, but it just kind of hit me wrong. Or, or I'm sorry you probably didn't know, but that's racially offensive, or that's offensive to, to my gender preference, or whatever. And just let people know, especially if it's something where it's kind of a gray area and like it might offend some people and not other people. And it's like, for instance, I'm from the South. You are too, Andi. We say like hun to everybody. So, but in the North, that's horribly offensive to a lot of people, and they don't like it. Is there anything like that where you are, Norm?
Not that I know of. I'm a pretty casual guy, so
Yeah, I'm hard to offend. So it is hard for me sometimes to relate to people that have been through some things that have made them a little bit more susceptible to things that hurt them. And I try to remember that it's not just that somebody's so sensitive. A lot of times there's something that made them that way. And so you have to kind of work with that. It's all just about understanding people. Really, it just getting to know them, right?
I think something you said there too was when you were modeling the conversation of you probably didn't know this, but so you're assuming the best. You're assuming that it's an educational problem, not just that somebody's naturally a jerk. And so you're kind of approaching it from, hey, you're probably, so I'll use this example, being from the South. the word country bumpkin goes all over me because growing up, I had two sets of grandparents. I had grandparents that were from the city and grandparents who lived on a 49-acre farm. And I heard negative comments from one side of the family about the other. And that word, it triggers that emotional response of that anger that I felt as a child of defending my grandparents that I dearly loved. So for me, it takes me back to that emotional response.
Right.
Where somebody may think that they're being funny, but in the words of my grandmother, I'm not in the mood for your funny. Like, I'm not having it.
I'm not in the mood.
Right. We're not having it. That's not what we're doing. And so having that conversation of, hey, you probably didn't know. And I know that I probably took that in a way that you didn't intend. But if we could just have a mutual agreement that this word's off the table.
Yeah. To me. Don't say that to me. Thank you so very much.
See, yes. That's a very PC way of handling it, Andi.
Yeah.
That's a very PC way, right? That's really good for people who are not confrontational, right? Because that whole response is about trying to avoid the confrontation, right? And ideally, the person who's receiving that is receptive to that. Yeah.
And most times, in my experience at least, most people are, especially in a professional setting,
right?
Most people go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way. My apologies." And especially if you are comfortable explaining why it's offensive to you. That helps. That really, really helps.
And my goal is to address it then and then because I don't want to have to go to level 2. We can go there if we need to, but if we can handle it on this level 1, I would really appreciate.
Let me tell you guys, you don't want to see Andi go to that next level. Don't do it. Next level like Andi is not something anybody needs to see. So same here. I tell people you kind of get that one warning. And then after that, it's Muhammad Ali. So just don't do it.
I usually summarize it by this. I worked on the behavior teams at the high school. Mm-hmm. I'm going to leave that there. Like if we need to go there, we can go there.
Yeah, but just not gonna.
But I would rather we didn't. So
what about the training? So this is one thing that kills me too. So all these companies are like, oh, we're going to have, anti-toxicity training. We're going to watch this video for 2 hours. Or we're going to have anti-sexual harassment training. Okay, now this one really got me, by the way. People need to be careful how they name things because I once saw a training in a workplace that said sexual harassment training. And I was going,
I'll call it that, yeah.
I was like, but that sounds like you're telling people how to do it. Don't be ambiguous with this.
Mm-hmm.
Just in case you didn't know how.
Yeah, in case you didn't know how. This is how you do it right, guys. This is how you do it. I don't mean guys like men, but just in general. So first of all, do not ambiguously name your trainings just in general. That never is good. But when it comes to training, Norm, because this is kind of your thing. I mean, to me, I think those trainings are stupid. I'm using that word again, because sometimes it just applies. They don't work in my experience and people zone out, they fall asleep, all of that. So first of all, in your experience, is that true? And second of all, what kind of training would you set up just in general in the workplace? Or is there a training needed to fix some of these issues?
I think what you're saying, it can be applied to just training in general, right? That you see at work. It's just kind of like, check the box, go through the motions. Oh, I got to go get this training. Even the supervisors, the people who are supposed to hold you accountable. Oh, we just got to go, you guys just got to just take this training today, right? Just make sure you get it up on this day. I don't want to get a call from my boss about you guys not taking the training, right? That's pretty much what it is, right?
And it's not good.
And it's not good. And I think
know that boss.
Right. I've had that boss.
We've all had that boss.
I think I might have been that boss before. Right.
Oh, no.
But it starts at the top, right? It starts at the top. It's about your culture. But if your culture is one built around open, honest feedback in the moment, right, where your leaders, right, hold themselves accountable, right, to the training, hold their teams accountable, right? If this isn't something that's important to your company culture, your company leaders should be holding their teams accountable to not only just receiving the training, but actually practicing it on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
And when they do hear someone stepping outside of what the company culture is and on any level, that's when you need to have open and honest feedback and coaching in the moment. And then for those repeat offenders, that's when they go on a performance plan. It's not about your number, about your performance
Yes.
and within our organization. So if we need to reel you back in because you got a sassy little mouth, then that's what we need to do, right? It doesn't matter. Whatever.
Now, wait a minute. Whoa. I have a sassy little mouth. I do not want to be reined in.
Which is why you own your own company.
Exactly.
Oh, no, I have to watch it even more now. I don't want to get sued.
Right. I love what you're saying here, Norm, because
it's true. Yeah. In all sincerity.
Yes. And essentially what I'm hearing is I shouldn't have to train you. Like a video is not going to make you stop being a jerk, right? It's just not. Nope. It's like those signs that say, if you steal, we're going to call the police, right? It's not like I'm going to look at it and go, I was going to steal this, but I saw the sign. I didn't realize this wasn't okay.
We're serious about this, huh?
Right. Oh, man. Now that there's a sign.
Oh, darn. Yeah.
So it's not like somebody is going to be this really horrible person. And then they're like, but I saw this one required video. And Susie told John that she was sorry. So I should start apologizing in my life. Like that's nobody has had an epiphany from these mandatory videos. It's like a checkbox for the company to say, hey, if you're being toxic, we have this for ground. So you can't sue us. Right. Yes.
It's fluff. It's fluff. And we don't want fluff. We want real substance. Right. Really work with people. Either fire them because what they did is so egregious, which is fine, or work with them, train them, teach them, have an ongoing intentional plan. Be intentional about it. Don't just wing your way through it. Come up with a plan, have follow-ups, and be intentional.
And right, that's going into the second point, right? Your second thing, what type of training? This is where you need to have, if it's a hot topic, something that's important to your organization, you don't just need to have one training on it. Right. This needs to be something that you revisit once a month in your LMS. Right. And it's not just go watch this video. Hey guys, this month it's this, right? This month you're going to be put into a few augmented reality scenarios where you have to react or respond. It's not just going to sit there and watch a video, or now you have to take it. This month is just a quiz on everything you've learned in the past 3 months of training on this topic. Oh, snap. Now people are like, wait, they're serious about this. Like they're gonna dock my pay if I don't get an X amount of score and I'm gonna have to redo the training. Right. Or whatever. There's these consequences now. I don't know if they can legally.
No, they can't do that. But
I'd be kind of.
But there will be consequences.
It would change the world, though.
It would.
It's like professional grounding.
Yeah, and you know what? I have heard people propose the idea that if it's a certain type of egregious act, not just for kind of the run of the mill, maybe it was offensive, maybe not, but like for just the egregious things, and they would have to be specifically listed out, that if someone is found to have done that in the workplace, that they should be able to have their pay docked.
It's like a fine.
I think
you should. It's a fine, right? For if you break your contract, you get fired. They just fine you. And let's
NFL, it's like we do it for athletes.
Yeah, so why not? Yeah. Why not? I don't see the problem there, because you're causing problems in the workplace. I'm just going to throw that out there, America, that I actually would be in huge support of that, because there are sometimes those actions could cost the company money. They could cost somebody else's job because they get to the point that they're not feeling good, which brings me back to the point that you are going to lose more people by keeping one crummy person than you would if you just let them go. It's one or basically everybody. It's kind of what it comes out to, because you're going to have a lot of turnover if you don't get rid of that person, especially if they're in leadership. You have to just let them go. And if you're scared to do it, call me. That's a service I offer. I will terminate them for you very gladly.
People pay to have that happen?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I have clients that they don't want to fire people, or they're afraid they won't do it properly, because there are certain bases, especially in certain states, there are certain ways you have to do it. Oh yeah, I get called just to fire people.
I can see that.
I love this. Yeah. I love that you do this.
I do, and I enjoy it. Is kind of the sick thing.
So
not layoffs. I want to clarify that. Yes, go ahead.
Thought about it, right? Just going back to this whole being able to find employee theory, right? I'm loving this more and more I think about it, right? So if you can find an employee, I'm looking at, okay, if I'm an employee and I get fined and I'm not really invested in the company, I'm like, whatever, I'm not going to pay this fine. I'm just going to quit. Cool. Right. Then you just quit. You don't get unemployment, buddy. We're good.
Yeah. Right? We're done with you.
We're done. Like, you saved me the trouble. So I'm liking this filing thing more and more.
It's a good idea, right? And then on the flip side, have bonuses for people that go X amount of time and get praises, or, you know, or don't have a problem,
or act like adults.
Yeah, act like adults. Here's your adulting bonus. I don't know if you should get a bonus just for being an adult, but maybe if you get kudos and like you are known for helping people resolve problems, or you go the extra mile, get bonuses for that.
I'm liking the adulting bonus. I'm on board with this.
Sign me up for that, as a matter of fact. Can I get,
you know, like, seriously, it's so few employees that actually get that, I swear. Like, they could actually get the adulting bonus.
But don't you think it'd be a motivation, like a carrot, to get more people to do it, right? Like,
act right, and here's what you get.
Okay, so you know I'm all about trying to pose the tough questions.
Yes.
If you offered an adulting bonus to your leadership team, would they get it? And if they wouldn't, then you've identified why your company culture can't shift.
Ooh, that's a good one. Ooh. Another mic drop for
Andy. I'm gonna leave that there. I'm gonna leave it there. Let it marinate.
I like it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Any business owner just needs to hear that. I'm gonna have a clip made of just that.
I love it.
Because seriously, people, that's how you need to think about it. Does this person need to go? And just think about that. If I was giving an adulting bonus just for basic, just acting like a professional adult human being, would my leadership team get it? If there is any pause, they don't need to be there anymore.
Right.
Even if you just have to think about it for a minute, they don't need to be there. That's not who you don't have the right people in leadership.
I think as leaders, if we don't take the time, at least, I would say monthly, I usually do it weekly, of saying, am I the best person for my organization, or do I need to change? Right? If we do not have that honest conversation with ourselves, how are we going to have that honest conversation with anybody else and say, am I modeling the behavior that I'm expecting others to follow?
Right. Right. I like that. I do an actual like performance review with myself. I know this is so dorky, but I do. And I do it on like the basic skills, and then I do it on the emotional stuff. And I do because you constantly have to learn. Right? You constantly have to adjust and you know, change how you do things. And I think that's important. And that type of feedback would be very important in any organization, whether you're a little tiny company, you know, and just a few people, or whether you have tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of employees. That's so very important to constantly have that accountability. Right. Yep. And I want to say this too. If you're the jerk in a company, you know it. Like, I just want to throw that out there. People always try to act like they were so surprised that they got fired for their bad behavior. You knew you were a jerk. Come on.
I think people are sometimes so trapped in this victim mentality that everything is happening to them that they can't see how, and a lot of times with manipulative behavior or drama, they are so blinded, everything is happening to them, and not, hey, I need to own this and say that I created this environment. I didn't have the tough conversation. I didn't make the moves I needed to do, and take ownership of that. But we don't exactly embrace that as a society.
I think really what that speaks to is that's just a symptom of a lack of emotional intelligence. And I think that in the modern workplace now, you have to have a certain degree of emotional intelligence, or you're not going to fit any company's culture.
Right.
That's true.
I agree.
Right. And that's in every industry. I mean, right. Like I work in construction as well. So it's like, even in construction, it's not the construction industry of the 90s, right? It's definitely not the construction industry of the 70s. So, so it's just like, if you don't have a certain level of emotional intelligence, there's no room, but you're going to cost a company money if you don't have a certain level of emotional intelligence.
100%.
I think that's a brilliant point. And I know there's been a lot of trainings lately on EQ. And again, we go back to this kind of society of be your authentic self, just be who you are. But at the same time, you have to be able to earn your place well with others badge, right? You have to be able to get along with humans and communicate in a way that your message is heard and understood. And these are all components of that emotional intelligence, being aware of yourself. How do you come across? And this little manipulative things. And sometimes we do it in the name of success, do it in the name of trying to climb the corporate ladder. But it goes back to what we talked about of selling your integrity for the price of an annual salary.
It's true.
You know, what is that worth to you? I personally would rather have less and sleep better because I know that inside I'm a good person than say, you know what, I climbed the ladder, but I stepped on everybody to get there.
100%. I could not agree with you more. I tell people that all the time. There's just no amount of money that's worth integrity or ethics to me. Just none. Just absolutely none. And I think to your point about the societal aspects to this, and even to the emotional intelligence, because you're absolutely right, Norm. Emotional intelligence is just required. It really is. I mean, there's just very little that you can do without it these days. There has to be an understanding in people's minds, because I hear a lot of this. Well, I'm just going to be me. I live in America. I'm free. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, let me help you out with something, okay? Free does not mean you get to be an a-hole without consequences. You are free to do whatever, but you might have a consequence for that. Just like if you steal something, you're going to go to jail.
You're free to do whatever. It doesn't mean you're going to do whatever here.
Right. And that. And it doesn't mean you're going to do it in our company. That's not what that means.
Right.
And you...
I lost her. Did you lose her?
I thought that was me. I was like, oh,
I know. Do you ever do that? Like when somebody freezes and I like move to see if it was them or me?
Yeah, I know. Me too. I'm like, what's happening? So I would say, like, you have to, like, the societal contract is like, you have to consider other people. That's the whole thing. That we all are together. We're symbiotic. We affect each other. You can't just go do whatever in the world you feel like and think it doesn't affect people.
That societal contract is not spoken about enough. I think
100%. Yes. This is the agreement. You have to, because if you're going to live in society and not in the boonies and be a hermit, then you have to think about other human beings. That is just how it works. Now, sometimes you're going to mess up. Sometimes you're going to say something that you shouldn't, or you're going to do something that maybe was a little offensive. Accept that. Learn from it. Keep on marching. I've done it.
Right.
I've done it. I have said things to people that I did not realize was racist. Went, whoops. I am so sorry. This was a long time ago, but it's like, I am so sorry.
Right.
Learn from that. Keep on trucking. It happens to everyone, but you do not get to say, well, this is just me. Let me tell you, if I said everything that came into my head, I would have no friends. If I said everything that came into my head, everybody would like lock me up and throw away the key. There would be nothing good happening. You have to filter yourself. And think about other people.
Out of everything that happened in 2020, the one good thing that came out was defining things like I'm not racist versus I'm anti-racist, right? Becoming and forming not just tolerance, but alliances and standing up for human rights on a whole new level. That's what I hope we continue moving forward. And it goes back hand in hand with this work environment of not just, I'm not going to offend anybody, but I'm now an advocate that we're going to transform culture into this inclusive, diverse, equitable environment for all parties.
Yes.
And I just think like a big thing on that is not everyone has to be this big champion of diversity and inclusion, right? But you don't have to go be an advocate of change, but you have to be open. Right. You have to be open, right? Like you just have to be open. No one's asking you to go out and, become the crusader for diversity and inclusion. But it feels like that sometimes, right? I mean, it feels like that when it's presented, but I just don't feel like people define enough about what it looks like as being, an advocate versus being an ally versus being someone who's open to change.
Right. No,
I think there's so many levels to that.
100%.
Great
and I want to say real quick, that was wonderful, Norm. That's another one I'm going to have a little clip made of, because that's so true. You know, it's okay if maybe this makes you uncomfortable or that makes you uncomfortable. You still don't get to be a jerk to people. That's the thing. You know, I've heard people in the workplace, by the way, say, well, I don't agree with their lifestyle, so I could just say whatever I want to say. No, that is not how that works. And if someone is not directly hurting other human beings, shut up. At least it works.
It's not for you to have an opinion about.
At least it work. I mean, if you want to say whatever behind closed doors, knock yourself out.
Don't talk with your spouse, whatever you want to say.
Yes, talk to your dog about it. You know, have a whole conversation. Do not bring that stuff to work. If they are not directly hurting other human beings and or hindering your ability to do your job directly, not just because you're thinking about who they date or whatever, drop it.
Right.
Who cares? You don't get to have an opinion about that at work. Not the place for that. And with that, I want to thank you both so very much for joining us. Any last words from you, Andi?
Nope. I think this was great. It's a conversation that needs to be had and continued. So I appreciate always getting to come and chat with you.
Thank you.
Love what you're doing.
Thank you. I thank you so much for coming, Andi. You know you're one of my favorites. I always got to call you when I have some, but then where people just need to be brutally honest. And what about you, Norm? Any four final words from you?
I just think, you know, the kind of the theme of the two shows that I've been on is just kind of leadership needs to continue to provide open and honest feedback and coaching in the moment. If you want your culture, your organization to change, to be better, that's what you need.
That's right. 100%. Nice. And I want to remind everybody to please connect with these guys. They are wonderful, incredible human beings. They will message you back on LinkedIn. Go find them. They're both pretty darn easy to find. Come find me on LinkedIn. If you're not watching it on there already, I am here to help you and to help you in any way I can. If you need to fire that jerk who's too toxic in your workplace, reach on out to me. I got you. And with that, see you.